6-1, 6-2. 87 minutes of devastation in Osaka. Alex Eala just suffered one of the most embarrassing losses of her career, crushed by a qualifier nobody had ever heard of. The headlines are brutal. The social media comments are vicious. Her ranking could drop. Sponsors might be concerned, but here's what everyone's missing. This isn't the end of Alex Eala's story. It's just the beginning of the most critical stretch of her entire career. In the next 3 weeks, she has 2 massive tournaments that could either salvage her season or confirm everyone's worst fears. Guangzhou, Hong Kong, 2 cities, 2 chances, 2 tournaments that will determine whether the 20-year-old Filipino star is a future champion or just another player who couldn't handle the pressure. The clock is ticking, and what happens next will shock everyone. Let's start with the brutal truth about where Alex Eala stands right now. World number 54. That's a career-high ranking she achieved just days before the Japan Open disaster. But rankings in tennis are fragile. They're built on points that expire after a year. And right now, Eala is in freefall. 3 straight tournaments without a win, back-to-back first-round exits, a performance in Osaka that was so bad, it looked like she'd never held a tennis racket before. 28% second serve win rate. 1 breakpoint converted out of 6, 4 double faults. These aren't numbers from a top 60 player. These are numbers from someone who's lost. But here's where it gets interesting. Eala doesn't have time to sit around and feel sorry for herself. The Guangzhou Open starts October 20th. That's less than a week away. 6 days to fix everything that went wrong in Japan. 6 days to rebuild shattered confidence. 6 days to prove she belongs at this level. And the pressure, it just got 10 times worse. The Guangzhou Open isn't just another tournament, it's a WTA 250 event where Eala is seeded 5th. Read that again, 5th seed. That means the tournament organizers expect her to make a deep run. Quarterfinals at minimum, semifinals if everything goes right. But expectations and reality are 2 very different things right now. Eala hasn't won a match in 3 tournaments. She just got demolished by a teenager ranked 24 spots below her. So, how exactly is she supposed to walk into Guangzhou and suddenly become the player everyone thinks she should be? The answer lies in what she does in these next 6 days. Her coaching team will be working overtime, breaking down every mistake from Osaka, analyzing Valentova's strategy, and figuring out why Eala couldn't counter it. Drilling that second serve until it becomes automatic. Working on breakpoint conversion, eliminating those costly double faults. But the technical fixes are only half the battle. The real question is mental. Can Eala block out the noise? Can she forget about the hate comments flooding her social media? Can she ignore the pressure of representing an entire nation? Because if she walks onto that court in Guangzhou still haunted by what happened in Osaka, she's done before she even starts. Now let's talk about what success looks like. Eala needs to win matches, period. Not just one, not just scraping through the first round. She needs to string together multiple victories to prove Japan was an anomaly. A quarterfinal run would be solid. A semifinal would be excellent. Winning the title, that would completely flip the narrative and remind everyone why she's one of the most exciting young players in the world. But here's the reality check. Guangzhou isn't going to be easy. It's a WTA 250 event, which means the competition is fierce. Every player in that draw is hungry. Every opponent will see Eala's recent struggles and smell blood in the water. They'll attack that second serve. They'll pressure her on breakpoints. They'll test her mental toughness at every opportunity. And if Eala shows even a hint of weakness, they'll pounce. This is professional tennis at its most brutal. There are no easy matches, no guaranteed wins. Just you, your opponent, and the weight of everything you're carrying. For Eala, that weight includes the hopes of millions of Filipinos, the expectations of sponsors, and the knowledge that another early exit could send her career into a tailspin she might not recover from. But let's say Eala bounces back in Guangzhou. Let's say she rediscovers the form that took her to the Miami Open semifinals earlier this year. Let's say she puts together a solid run and rebuilds some confidence. What happens next? The Hong Kong Tennis Open, October 27th through November 2nd. Another WTA event, another chance to prove herself. And this one is particularly significant because it's one of the final tournaments of the 2025 WTA season. Eala has confirmed she'll be competing there alongside big names like Naomi Osaka, Daria Kasatkina, and Ajla Tomljanovic. It's her first time playing in Hong Kong, and it represents a golden opportunity. Win matches there, and she finishes the season on a high note. Crash out early, and the questions about her mental toughness will only get louder. The Hong Kong Open could be the perfect ending to a roller coaster year, or it could be the final confirmation that Eala isn't ready for this level yet. Everything depends on how she responds to adversity right now. Here's something most people don't realize about Alex Eala's 2025 season. Despite the recent struggles, this has been the best year of her career. She became the first Filipino woman to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal at the Miami Open in March, beating 3 Grand Slam champions along the way. She cracked the top 100. She made her Grand Slam debut at the French Open. She reached her first WTA final at Eastbourne. She became the first Filipino to win a main draw match at a Grand Slam when she triumphed in the first round of the US Open. She won her first WTA 125 title in Guadalajara. These aren't small accomplishments. These are history-making achievements that changed Filipino tennis forever. But here's the harsh reality of professional sports. Nobody remembers your past achievements when you're losing right now. Fans are fickle. Media narratives shift in an instant. One bad week can erase months of good work. And that's exactly what's happening to Eala. The Miami Magic feels like a distant memory. The US Open victory is already forgotten. All anyone's talking about is the collapse in Osaka and the 3-tournament losing streak. That's the cruelty of elite competition. You're only as good as your last match. So, what does Eala need to do to turn this around? First, she needs to get back to basics. Strip away all the noise and remember why she fell in love with tennis in the first place. She's a US Open Girls champion. She trained at the Rafael Nadal Academy. She has the talent to compete with anyone in the world, but talent means nothing without confidence. And confidence comes from preparation, execution, and results. Eala needs to dominate practice sessions over the next few days. She needs to visualize success. She needs to work with sports psychologists to develop coping mechanisms for pressure situations. Because the technical skills are there, the problem is mental. She's playing scared, hesitant, like someone who's afraid to make mistakes instead of someone who's going for winners. That mindset has to change if she wants to compete at this level. Second, she needs to manage expectations. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop worrying about what millions of people back home are thinking. Stop putting so much pressure on herself to win every match. Just play tennis. Trust the process. Compete point by point and let the results take care of themselves. Easier said than done, obviously. But it's the only way forward. Let's talk about the bigger picture for a moment. Alex Eala is 20 years old. 20. Most tennis players don't peak until their mid-20s. She has years ahead of her to develop, to learn, to grow. The pressure on her is absurd because she's already accomplished so much so young. But that early success created unrealistic expectations. People expect her to win every tournament, to beat top 10 players consistently, to be the next big superstar. But development isn't linear. Every player goes through rough patches. Iga Swiatek, now one of the best in the world, had periods early in her career where she struggled. So did Coco Gauff. So did countless others who eventually became champions. The difference between players who make it and players who don't is how they respond to adversity. Do they crumble? Or do they fight back? Do they let losses define them? Or do they use failures as fuel? That's the crossroads Eala is standing at right now. Guangzhou and Hong Kong will tell us which path she's going to take.